Howdy, who all my stock market gamblers. Welcome today. I'm Tall Mike. I'm so glad you're here. What do we got going on in the stock market? Well, we had the big drop and then we had the big rise up, right? We've recovered all of our losses for the year. For the year, we're pretty much flat, right? If you went to sleep at the beginning of the year, woke up now, you'd think nothing happened, right? But we had that 22% drop. We had the big bounce back up. We're kind of flat for the year. Now, there's an old saying in the stock market, and it kind of holds true. Sell in May and go away. A lot of people sell in May and they go on vacation for the summer, right? Now, May this year, we would have missed out, right? Because this was the best May. You'd have to go back to 1990. You'd have to go back 35 years to find a better month of May. May, the Qs, the NASDAQ, if you will, up 12%. The S&P up 8%, the best May in 35 years. So if you sold in May and went away, this would be a really bad plan this year. But here's the thing, there's a good time of year and there's the bad time of year. It's broken up 6 months each. The bad months of the year starts May 1st through October 31st. And this is where you want to be out of the market. Now, historically, obviously, this year you would have missed a 10% run-up already. So this year it would not be working yet. Now, by the time we come back to October 31st, we may be down 30 or 40%. We don't know, but this could fall apart really quick. Now, I keep telling you they're going to push this up to a new record high, but there's a lot of smart investors that are on the sideline, right? Warren Buffett. $500 billion almost a half a trillion dollars sitting in cash. Why? Because he knows the market's overvalued, because he knows it's going to come down by at least 50%. Some people say 60 to 80% drop, and that's very possible. So be very cautious here. Yes, I believe they're going to push this up to a new record high. Yes, I believe they'll probably even push it a little bit beyond that. Maybe we got another 5% run up before they do the big rug pull. Big rug pull's coming. I believe that. Just be careful, but I do think they're going to push this up more with fake money, with printing of money, right? With adding liquidity. That's how they're going to push this up. Now, today, I want to talk about something that, well, you don't want to talk about this with your friends. You don't want to talk about this with your family. People get really upset. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of comments where people are going to get upset. But I want to talk about the difference between reality and fake. Real versus fake. Some things are real, some things are fake. Now, I know this is the generation where AI is going to come into play, and you can already watch YouTube videos and you can't even tell they're AI, right? You don't know they're AI generated, but they are, right? Because they are not real. They would be what I would call fake, but yet their AI can generate someone that looks exactly like me. Maybe this is an AI video. Maybe someone hijacked my channel. Now they're doing AI videos of Tall Mike. Very possible. In this day and age, it's a reality, and that would be fake, right? Because that wouldn't be Tall Mike. That wouldn't be his opinions. But there's real and there's fake. And when it comes to money, there's real money, which is gold and silver, right? And there's fake money, which is the fiat system, right? Things that aren't backed by anything. Now, there's the East versus the West. Okay. We're a Western country, right? The United States represents the West. We're the superpower, if you will. But the one that wants to take over as a superpower is China, right? They want to take over and be the next superpower. And China thinks long term. Their plan is to be the world superpower by the year 2049. That's their goal, right? It's an admirable goal, right? I mean, if I was a country, I'd want to be the super country. In the United States, we've been the super country for so long, we would like to stay there, but we're kind of dwindling away. Once again, I'm going to talk about real versus fake. Now, countries in the Eastern Bloc, right, like China, like Russia, where's their money? Where do they have their assets? And they have them in real things. They have them in gold, silver, platinum, palladium, natural resources, right? They have them in real things. Where does the U.S. have their money? Where is their wealth stored? Dollars, right? Fiat. Bonds. We can never, ever pay them back. Bitcoin, crypto, right? I mean, these are digits on the screen, right? Not exactly what I would call real. Now, of course, the Bitcoin people think they're real, but it's interesting. Half of all Bitcoin is owned by the United States, right? They say that this is for the unbanked nations. Bitcoin's going to help all these unbanked nations. No, it's for the United States. The United States likes to invest in these things that I would call fake. Now, I know a lot of you disagree with this, but it's not real, right? If you want, like, let's say the world comes to an end, right? And you count up your chips, right? All right, do you want a bunch of digits on the screen for your chips where the other one's sitting there with their piles of gold, piles of silver? And those are starting to skyrocket now because people are starting to see the difference between fake and reality, fake versus real, right? But it's sad because it's the East versus the West, right? And right now, the reason China thinks they can become the next superpower is because they're investing in real things where they see us having these fake things that are going away. Eventually, the dollar will go away. No way we can pay the bonds back. So there's this thing called Operation Sandman. Now, some of you may have heard of that. That's where all the countries get together and they dump the U.S. bonds all at once, meaning they send all the U.S. dollars back to the United States. Now, what would happen? Well, we'd have hyperinflation like you've never seen before, and we'd have a shortage of goods and services because everything's made in other countries around the world. The United States have gotten away from making real things. We make crypto, right? We want to be the crypto king. Donald will tell you we want to be the world center for crypto. All right, that's good. We're the world center for bonds, right? Everybody's got to buy our bonds, but Operation Sandman is going to be dumping all the bonds. Now, my take on this is Operation Sandman is already in effect. Other countries are divesting from our bond market. They don't want them anymore. They know that we cannot pay them back and they're getting out of them as fast as they can. What are they getting into? I'll tell you, it's not crypto, right? It's not the Trump coin or the Melania coin or fart coin, a Haktua coin, or even Bitcoin, right? It's not. They don't want that junk. That junk's for the U.S., right? They want real things. They want gold. They want silver. Here's the thing. China now tells their citizens, they've been telling their citizens to buy gold. Do you know their citizens own more gold than we claim to have in Fort Knox? And I think Fort Knox is empty, but let's hope we still have those 8,000 tons. But China's citizens have more than 8,000 tons just by their citizens buying gold. Now, what are they telling them in China? Telling them to buy silver, right? Same with India. India is very big into gold and silver. What do we tell people in the United States? Do not buy gold. We don't advertise it. We don't want you buying it. Why? Because it's outside the system. You've got to buy dollars. You've got to buy crypto. You've got to buy the stable coin. You've got to support the United States with the fake reality. Look, it's fake, right? Those things are all fake. You've got to start investing real money, gold and silver. This is just my take. Once again, you don't have to listen to it. You can switch the channel. You got a clicker. I guess that's old remote talk for the old guy, right? On YouTube, you just, I don't know what you do, but you can switch to another channel if you don't want to hear this. But we in this Western states, we have a lot of debt. We're based debt, right? Debt-based economy. If we stop printing money, everything comes crashing down, right? And right now we're going to print more and more. We're going to print trillions more, right? And what we got is Bitcoin, crypto, and stable coins are all the relief valves. So maybe Michael Saylor's right. Maybe Bitcoin's going to go from the 100,000 sat to the million. Maybe Bitcoin will reach $1 billion of Bitcoin, maybe even $1 trillion of Bitcoin. Because when money reaches zero, that's pretty much what you're going to get, right? You're going to convert your Bitcoin into the dollar, which is worth $0 trillion per Bitcoin. You'll get $1 trillion for each one. You won't be able to go to the grocery store and get a dozen eggs with it. You want to start thinking about this. You want to start getting into real things. Look at China. They're going to become a superpower because they're investing in their infrastructure. Have you noticed the infrastructure of our country? Bridges are collapsing, right? The grid goes down all the time. I don't know why my internet goes off all the time. I live in a major city. I live in Silicon Valley, technology headquarters, but they can't keep my internet on. I don't get it personally, but the grid keeps going down, right? We don't invest in infrastructure here. Our infrastructure is falling apart. What do we invest in? Trump coin, Haktua coin, Fart coin, Bitcoin, and now we got all these companies trying to get on. 35,000 at that Bitcoin conference. Wasn't that great? I hope you were all there. Look at that's what we invest in here. The fake stuff. Look, at one time I had this couple, right? They're divorced now, but this was when the metaverse was just starting there. I guess they switched their name to Meta. Used to be Facebook when they started the metaverse, but they were shopping for a home. He wanted to buy the home in the metaverse. He thought he could go live in the metaverse. His wife thought he was an idiot. I thought he was a fool. They got divorced. They did not buy a house from me. But that's the thing. Reality versus what's fake. And what today, with this AI, it's getting very hard to tell where reality is. Now, if you want to live in the AI world, if you want to live in the fiat world, that's perfectly acceptable for you, right? I mean, there's a lot of people, they trade these cryptocurrencies and they live in their mom's basement, and that's their reality. They don't want to go out and work. They don't want to go out and produce. They don't want to go out and make things. They want to trade crypto, and that's okay. We live in America. We are a free country. You are entitled to do that. And maybe they'll go to $1 trillion, but I'm saying as a country, as a whole, we got to start thinking in reality again. China, they're taking off. They're getting the lead on us. We're sitting here, fiat currency, bond debt-based system. We live in the crypto world. You can't buy Bitcoin in China. They say, no, that's for fools. It's outlawed. You cannot get it there. You cannot buy the Trump coin in China. You cannot buy any crypto in China. They're real. They want natural resources and they're stockpiling way more than we have, Russia, same way. I mean, we sanctioned Russia. We've frozen all their assets, but they have so much gold, silver, palladium, platinum that they can operate, that they can thrive in this economy because they have real stuff, right? We are getting away from reality in the United States. At some point, we're going to have to go back to reality because there's going to be a reset coming. Now, when there's a reset comes, it's going to reflect gold. Now, a lot of you have heard about the BRICS, right? Brazil, Russia, India, China. These are the BRIC countries, right? Okay, so these countries now have a settlement. It's not a currency. It's where the countries can trade between themselves and settle up in gold. Gold is going to be part of the reset. Everybody said, but Mike, we're the United States of America. We're the superpower. We'll go blow up the whole world. And that's what I'm afraid of, right? When we start to lose, they're going to lead us to war. Your leaders are going to lead us into war when we start to lose the battle against other countries, right? But these BRIC countries, they got a settlement currency where they can trade without dollars. The dollars are going to come flooding back into the United States, which is going to lead to a hyperinflation like you've never seen before. I mean, you see gold prices right now. It's telling you something. You see the bond prices on the long end. The interest rate keeps going up because they know there's no way our country can pay off its debt. Our country has gotten so far away from reality. People say, Mike, you don't love our country. I love this country. I was born here. I lived here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay and fight, right? But look at the reality of it is we have big problems here. I love my country, but the government is leading you down the wrong path, right? The Federal Reserve has stolen 99% of your purchasing power. Without the Federal Reserve, we would still be at the superpower level that no country could match. But the Federal Reserve has sold us down the drain, put us 37 trillion in debt, 120 trillion in unfunded liabilities. There is no way out of this. Look, I know that this is kind of like a Debbie Downer podcast, and I didn't really want to do it. I was going to talk about the housing market. People like when I talk about the housing market, even though I think that's going to be coming down also. But look, this is just reality. We got to get back to it, right? We got to get back to real money. When we do get that reset, you're going to see gold and silver become money again. You're going to see silver explode upward. you look at the Constitution, gold and silver are the only thing that was supposed to be money. Our leaders sold us out from what our founding fathers built this country on. We got to get back to that. We got to get back to God. A lot of people hate when I talk about that. And I'm not going to go into that on this channel. You all know I'm a Christian boy. But it's what we got to get back to, some values in this country, some reality. And I believe there's hope. We can still be a strong superpower. But right now, China's passing us by. They're getting into reality, right? They got the rest of the world on their side, right? We're getting very small, not many people, not many friends. Yeah, we got the European Union. Okay, I get that. They're our allies, right? They're in debt too. They keep printing the money. Look, it's a problem. We got a big problem. We have to get back to reality. Starts with real money, starts with sound money. I'm Tall Mike. Give me the thumbs up if you like this stuff. Punch that subscribe button. Get out there, everybody. Enjoy the day. Bye-bye now.